Oh my, look at this. Well, it looks really, really small. Maybe I could make it go bigger. Can I? Yes, I can. Good morning, everyone. Boy, we've had some fun here this morning. This is the Being Your Own CEO Success Circle, and I welcome you here. Um, we get together because we like each other's company, because we like experimenting together and sharing our observations and discoveries. And sometimes we do a little business together as well. So I'm LowellAnn, and I call myself the Elder Geek. And this week I've been posting some different things on my website and doing in videos, promoting, doing some affordable websites because our province has just announced a grant for small businesses to get websites done. So I had to jump on that real fast to get it out there. I still have to figure out somewhere else as well to promote that. So anyway, that's what's going on with me. Let's see. Vivek, how would you like to introduce yourself before we get to our topic?
Namaste. My name is Vivekanand. I am proud to share my belief with Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, who said, simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication. I aim to bring time tested wisdom and happiness together into your business and life by unifying, simplifying, and amplifying simple technology and tools. Wake Technology is my company. Together, let us wake up our potential. Presently, I am in United Kingdom. We are experiencing bit of snow. We are under the snowstorm Darcy, and quite a bit of snow on the east side of the country, and I am on the slightly west side, so not so much affected, but still. The thing is, England has not much experience in with the snow. That is the problem. Even though altitude wise, I mean, uh, it is quite northerly on the northerly hemisphere. It somehow weather has not been that cold, but now it is. So
We have the same problem here in Victoria, Vivek. If
but
it's
you
it
are prepared. You are used to getting
No,
snowed under.
no,
No?
not in Victoria.
Oh.
Everywhere else in Canada, yes, but not in Victoria. Everybody remembers back in the 90s when they
Hmm.
got a big dump and it just shut the whole city down for a week. So, no, it rarely snows here.
Hmm.
Rarely. If it does, a few sprinkles that are gone within an hour, kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. So,
Anyway,
so
glad to be here, and yeah,
I was
the
asking Vivek on via text earlier. I hope you have snow tires, and he says we don't have snow tires here. So I'm glad you're here, Vivek. So, David, how would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Dave Flannery with Affordable Websites for Small Businesses, and I'm here in Rock Falls, Illinois, where it's a balmy. Um,
He's looking for Celsius, so the rest of us will know.
yeah, I was going to convert it, but it isn't worth it. You guys can figure it out if you want.
What is it?
13 below zero Fahrenheit.
Oh,
So it's got to be roughly 25 below, maybe 30 below, somewhere around in there.
Wow.
We've been getting snow. Up to last week, we've had a very mild winter. It's been right around 30 degrees every day, and very little snow or rain. And then in the last week, we've gone down in the deep freeze. It's actually not really deep freeze. 25 below is deep freeze. That's when it gets really cold. I was out snow blowing this morning and came in and I was all sweaty.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, we are broadcasting on the website and YouTube, and Javita says good morning to everyone.
Greetings, Javita. Welcome here. So, David, yeah, just so you know, my phone says it's 0 degrees here. So it's on the radio. It said today is the coldest day we've experienced so far this winter.
That's centigrade, right? That's 32 degrees.
That's
Fahrenheit.
just freezing. Yeah,
Yeah,
0.
That's freezing.
Yeah.
So we've been running right around 0 centigrade all winter long. It was amazing. I thought we were gonna have a real mild winter and we'd be right about another week. We'd be starting spring, but we're not getting out of this for another week. They're still saying it's getting colder next by the beginning of next week. So
we're all having a late winter because this month the cherry blossoms should be out here, but it's going to be delayed. So yeah, so I'm glad you're here, David. And I'm glad you got a snowblower. You don't have to do it by hand. Been there, done both in the past. Yeah, there's Fred kind of going, yeah, I remember that. So Fred,
I used to have what we call an end loader, which is like a bobcat, and that I loved. Man, it was hard to get me off of that thing. I'd go get neighbors down the way. Hey, you need help? Have an inch of snow when I'm out in their driveway pulling in for nothing, just so I can play on the bobcat.
Yes, I had a neighbor back in New Brunswick that had one of those, and I remember that well. So, oh dear. So, Fred, how are you doing? And I know I can just tell by the look on your face you're remembering. We're all remembering. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Fred Jones, creator of Our Future Leaders, where I work with young people to help them in their communication and leadership skills so they can become the leaders that our world needs with all the changes that are going on. I'm currently in Ladysmith on my friend's boat, hiding away from COVID-19, and this week is apparently the coldest weather we have had this winter. It's going to go down to, I think, -7 during, I don't know, Wednesday, Thursday night here in Ladysmith. Yeah, that's cold for us. A little bit of snow maybe, but not much. And so that's the weather. Although I believe it was -45 degrees up in Fort St. John's, which is what, about 1,500 kilometers or 1,500 kilometers north of us in British Columbia. Big province we live in. Whole England would fit into this a couple times probably in just this one province. Anyway, I'm having a good time with my AGRA Speakers International, doing lots of meetings with them. One interesting thing is I've been, on 2012, I did this 5-month trip in Africa, and 4 months of it I was on this overland truck called Rosie. And some of the people have been reaching out on the Facebook, and they want to get together. Be interesting to just catch up on some of them. It's funny how you bonded, talking about bonding with people. We bonded after 4 months on a truck, and we still keep in touch, which is quite remarkable. The people are scattered around the world, from Australia to Japan, of course, Canada, States, Europe, was Ireland, England, and Germany. So it was and Denmark. It was a fascinating group, and they're still in touch.
So you're anticipating our topic this morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
socializing, and
Yeah.
that's where I learned how important it was to you could build
Mhm.
a community and different ways of building a community, including on an overland truck. And we're still in touch 8.5 years later.
Right on. That's cool. Yeah. So, yeah, um, I think that well, we're going to talk about that later. We need to give Alana an opportunity to introduce herself first.
Hey everybody, Alana here, coming to you from Ireland. My company is ALB Digital Marketing Solutions, where I write copy and do website administration and SEO work for small businesses. It's about 10 past 5 in the afternoon, freezing cold, getting some snow flurries out there. And yeah, I've had the heat on quite a bit, but I find the snow very distracting. I find myself just sitting here looking out the window, watching it fall. So it's been a challenge to focus on my work today.
What's that Christmas song? Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Bing Crosby. Good God.
I think somebody said something. It was broken up, and I closed as many windows as I could because I'm having internet issues, and I don't know if it's the snow related or what. I rebooted the box downstairs, so hopefully I won't lose anything today. But
Right on. Well, and when it gets cold here, I worry about the flowers on my balcony. I've been looking out there to see what's been freezing. So I have one plant that just the outer edge, so I can see that there's been a bit of freezing, but I try to keep everything in close to the house. So if it's 0 out way out there, it's just slightly less than 0 in close to the house. So fingers crossed. My geraniums are still blooming like crazy.
well, unfortunately, my poor rose bush out front has buds on it, and we're getting snow. So the seasons don't know what's going on here. You know, 1 minute it's 60 degrees, the next minute it's 25. So I don't know.
Yes, on the radio, on the CBC radio this morning, they were talking about exactly that, and they interviewed a master gardener, asking questions about what are we going to do about these things that are like my daffodils are up about 5 inches. They haven't bloomed yet. And so on the radio, they were asking, what do we do? Should we go out and cover things? What should we do? And the gardener said, well, if things have not come into bloom yet, quite likely they'll be just fine. Just leave them alone. So, oh dear. Here we are, the only place in North America worrying about whether our flowers are going to freeze. I think it's hilarious. Oh dear. Anyway, onward and upward to our topic. Well, I mean, what can you imagine we're all sitting here talking about the weather? I mean, when I was younger, I used to think that was boring.
Not if you're in United Kingdom anyway, because if you don't like the weather right now, maybe you wait for half an hour, it would probably change.
Yeah. The phrase here is if you don't like the weather, wait a minute or travel 1 block. So, yeah.
But we are England as such, United Kingdom, and also probably Ireland, both are so susceptible to change in weather. It changes very rapidly within.
Yeah.
I think that's mainly because we are subject to two global phenomena. One is the Gulf Stream, the water that travels between the North Pole and South Pole,
Yeah.
the exchange that happens, that crosses just past the island
Yeah.
that we are. And then on top of that, we have the Gulf Stream, which is the air in the atmosphere that's going around, and that is
Different.
that both of them crisscross the whole island.
Yeah.
So
Plus, you're on an island, which is what we are, on an island, and there seems to be an impact there as well. Yeah. So it's strange. Okay, let's get on to our topic. How are you staying in touch with your family, your friends, and your business contacts? Are you staying in touch with your family, friends, and business contacts?
Well, my family, immediate family, I visit and phone. My extended my son who's further away is phone mainly, and my extended family is phone. Business wise, it's Zoom. Zoom and email. That's the two ways that I communicate with people, and that's where I'm at.
How often?
My daughter, I see and talk and phone.
Yeah, but she lives really close to you.
Close. I mean, I have communication with them daily.
Yeah.
My son is weekly to every other week. My businesses some of them are weekly, like this show. Others are daily. And then others are more like monthly or something along that line.
Yeah. How about you, Alana?
I have to say I've been pretty bad at it. I have kind of like a nucleus here, my husband and my daughter, and we're in a lockdown until March 5th. So we really can't go anywhere or do anything. Restaurants, none of that stuff are open. So that's like locally, it's just going to the grocery store and coming home. That's it. My family, everybody I know is in the States. My extended family, my friends are there. So I find it difficult because of the time zone difference. So like I have a friend in Alaska. I have family and friends in Connecticut. I have people along the East Coast as well. And so, I find it difficult to kind of maintain communication. So we do that through Facebook and Messenger. We are going to try to get together this coming Sunday because there's been several of us who've had birthdays recently. So we thought it would be a great time to get together and just have a house party and a little tongue waggle, as it were. But yeah, I have to say I'm pretty bad at it. And as for businesses, I'm working with one client at the minute, so I'm in touch with her. But other than that, nothing going on.
Via email or phone? Or
I communicate with her through Basecamp and email as well.
Okay, right on. How about you, Vivek?
My my family is in India, so family as in my parents and brother and sisters. Not much of communication, but there is bit of emails and so on happening occasionally, but nothing really regular as such. In terms of business, just this morning I had a WhatsApp message from my client asking a question, and I had to respond to that. And so it's happening over the internet, over the
Mhm.
phone, or things like that. Normally, I would have gone to his place and would have addressed the issue, but since we are under lockdown, we
Mhm.
are not supposed to go there. So it has to be done via online means.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. So Vivek, I think that when we live far away from our extended family, it's really easy to the time between when we connect gets longer and longer, and
mm,
because our lives are so different, and
yeah.
as Alana said, the time zone becomes a real issue as well. Yeah,
Mm,
even when I remember when I was living up north. God, this is way back in the 80s. Um, before we had online, but it was even difficult to during certain times to phone somebody. Like I was living in Yellowknife, and my mother was living on the East Coast, and there were lots of times when I couldn't even get a phone line through to her
mm,
because the lines would all be busy. Like Christmas Day, forget it. You just would never be able to connect, you know. So you would have to, and then there was the time zone thing as well. You
mm,
know, I was working, so I only had short windows and all of that. So I mean, in today's world, we're so lucky that the time zone is still awkward, but it's overcomable now. Yeah,
mm,
it's interesting. So, and it's also interesting that we tend to connect with our clients quite quite regularly via email. Um, I certainly find that from my working with my clients, it's mostly email. Yeah,
mm.
telephone periodically, but mostly email. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's that's kind of an interesting thing. So Fred, what about you? I know you're staying in touch with a bunch of people internationally, but and I know that you do Notes of a Nomad so that your daughter and grandchildren can look up and find out what's going on with you. But what about that sort of direct connection? How does that happen? And how often?
Well, I think it's very often compared to most people, I would say. Probably because I've been doing this, running my operation in various locations because I'm nomadic. I had to set up the fact that I would connect regularly with people. So, for example, if I just go through this week, last night I was at a Toastmasters meeting um, for 2 hours. Tonight I'm at another Toastmasters meeting for 2 hours.
Mm,
Tomorrow I don't have a meeting. Thursday I'm at another Toastmasters meeting where we have 14 of us giving 3-minute presentations, and I'm one of them.
mm-hmm,
Friday morning I have a Toastmasters meeting. Friday evening I have the youth group, which meets. Saturday morning I have an Agra speakers, which is a group of us just set up a club, mainly in Winnipeg, but we have people in India, Nepal, and United States joined us.
mm,
Sunday morning, I have the Agora Ambassadors meeting, which will probably be people from anywhere from Ecuador to, well, we had Ireland, UK, Romania, Japan, I think I mentioned, and
mm-hmm,
India. And we'll have that meeting. I'll get up at 5. That meeting starts at 5 a.m. on Sunday because it'll be 10 p.m. in Tokyo.
yeah.
So I'm used to doing those sort of meetings, and that's just this week.
Mhm.
Also, I do phone calls. I have somebody after this. I have a regular phone call, as you know,
Mhm.
every week. And I will be phoning after that, I'll be phoning my friends who passed away, his wife, just to see how she's doing up in
Yeah.
Kelowna.
Right.
I keep in contact with I try not to phone my children too much because I let them phone me. It's just sort of an arrangement I have with them.
Mhm.
They have very busy lives.
Mhm. Mhm.
My daughter and son-in-law in California, it's my granddaughter's birthday tomorrow. She
Mhm.
turns 10, one of them. So I'll probably contact,
Yeah.
tomorrow because it's her birthday. But for example, she's a university professor. He's a school teacher. The children are at school, so they have a very busy life
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
all of that. So, and the same in my daughter and her family in Australia. But they do contact me on a, maybe a
Mhm.
monthly basis. So I leave it that's the way. So I believe in this group that we have on Tuesday mornings, I find I learned a lot how you can build community
Mhm.
without even having met anyone. It's amazing.
Mhm.
That's why I continue coming here because I've learned a lot about how you build community. I mean, we
Mhm.
know Alana knows me and Dave and Vivek, yet we've never met, and
Yes.
they've helped me and so on and so forth. And
Yeah.
so that's what
Mhm.
so I think because I've been doing this for now almost 5 years,
Mhm.
and I just travel around and I keep those contacts on a regular basis. I have a schedule. Uh, COVID-19 hasn't really impacted me because I've been doing it all along,
Mhm.
and this is how I operate. And with Agra as well, with what's going on, we had a 24-hour marathon last week, and I had attended meetings. I think I mentioned where I attended, but so it's just part of my life, a big part of my life,
Mhm.
communicating with people over Zoom or Skype or even by phone.
Oh, so you're using Skype as well?
Yep.
Mhm.
On occasions, I use Skype,
Mhm.
either you know just on the phone or because I don't have a permanent phone line.
Right.
So I have a Skype. I have a Skype with a Skype number, and I can
Mhm.
call
Mhm.
anywhere in North America, and people can phone and leave messages on my Skype number, which is a Seattle number. So of all places, you can't have Canada doesn't have Skype numbers. So the closest I could get was an American number, which is in Seattle,
Mhm.
and I keep getting calls from Seattle. American callers trying to sell me something, and
Yeah. Right.
think I'm in Seattle. So
Yeah.
or want donations for the I don't know political party or the
Yeah.
charities or whatever.
Mhm.
So I get calls. But yeah, no, I think it's amazing what community you can build online.
Mhm.
Like it's quite remarkable, I find. And this group has taught me a lot about that.
Well, and it's taught me a lot about it as well, Fred. But so but what I'm noticing, I mean, it seems as though a lot of people, a lot of us especially that are thinking in terms of online business, etc. Um, it it's it's not it's not a foreign idea to be connecting up with people in various parts of the world. It all has to do with our common interests and so forth. But the average person, I find a lot of people have a really hard time wrapping their minds around that. Maybe it's kind of shyness, um, or maybe it's fear of like doing things online. There's a fear out there of my own security. I don't want to share where I am or what I'm doing. There seems to be a lot of that out there in the sort of general world, but and I must share something with you all. I may have shared a little bit about this, but I belong to a choir which at one stage of the game was 200 to 300 members, and we all met face to face. It's sort of like your Toastmaster meetings locally, Fred. I mean, there was a time when they met face to face. So then COVID hit, and suddenly we're meeting via Zoom. And let me tell you, sitting with your Zoom on mute, singing by yourself does not measure up to singing with a group. It just does not measure up, you know. However, it's a community of people that are important to me. So, and other people feel the same way. So we're still doing it, even though we're all saying it doesn't measure up, because we don't want to lose connection. But so that's a group that kind of does or has started to. And what has popped up all over is our choir directors have traditionally run courses on how to run a community choir. And they had students from all over the US and Canada and various other countries come to Victoria to take these courses. So now they have an online group. They call themselves the Ubuntu group. And now a lot of them are starting to do Zoom experiences. And so now you've got all this cross-pollination that's starting to happen between all of the members of all these different choirs. So community, once you get it started and you get people connecting because of a really, really important interest, then there's no telling how far it can go. I mean, the choir community has really proven that. So, but now, Alana, you said something about having a house party shortly. Now, I can point up another experience about a house party or a similar idea. The tenors in my choir, we used to get together at a local pub after choir on Tuesday night. We would dash over there quickly because we would get there just before the kitchen closed so we could order something to eat and have a beer together. We did that for several years, every Tuesday after choir. Well, then we now with COVID has happened. For a while we were still getting together, and then that shut down. So somebody decided that there should be a Facebook page. It's called JBI Pub Night. And so we have gotten together a few times with that, and that just doesn't work. So I want to talk a little bit about the difference between socializing on a Zoom or whatever and having meetings, because there's a difference, and there's a really important difference in the way things are done. So for here, we do this as a mastermind, but it's run sort of like a meeting. Like I always host it, and I'm always the main MC. And when somebody wants to speak, they signal or I ask them or whatever. And that has worked for us. And we've been able to become friends even by going that route. But if you put a bunch of people that are used to getting together at a house party or a pub party, it doesn't work, because everybody's got themselves unmuted. Everybody's talking at once, and therefore you cannot hear what anybody says. And it becomes the most unsatisfying experience that I can imagine. So, Alana.
Okay, so just to speak to that a little bit, I had a Zoom meeting last weekend, my friend's birthday in Rhode Island. It was her birthday last weekend. So we organized a Zoom meeting, and it was just supposed to be 3 of us, my friend in North Carolina, me, and the Rhode Island girl. And then all the daughters participated as well. And it was just like you said, everybody talking at once. And the last time we had a house party with all my friends, it would have been 7 of us online. We did house party, same thing, everybody talking at once. And I tried really hard, I have to say, I tried really hard to say, look, you guys, can we just like put your hand up if you want to talk so that everyone's not all talking at once? It is very difficult to do, but having said that, I think desperate times call for desperate measures. And in this particular day and age where you have to find other ways to maintain communication, I think you just have to figure out a way to work out those bugs. So we're having another one this weekend, and it's going to be 7 or 8 of us online again. And the other issue is the bandwidth, because when you're on house party, I had it on my phone, I couldn't hear or talk or anything like that. I had to move it to my laptop. So bandwidth is a huge issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to, desperate times. What are you going to do?
Okay. So, so that's you. I'm glad you you've had the same experience. So my walking partner and I talked about this. She's also a tenor. That's how I met her, and we talked about this. And so she suggested that I offer to give a little sort of a presentation about how to make it work. And so I put that up on the pub night Facebook thing. Nobody signed up. Okay.
That is terrible.
Nobody signed up. And so what I would recommend that you do, are you the host? Are you going to be the host?
Well, see, I can't remember how house party works, but I think everybody just jumps in. What happens is, okay, now I remember. When you have a house party app on your phone or your laptop, who's ever in the room notifies everybody else in your group, let's say, that so-and-so is in the house, and then they can jump in.
And that's done through Facebook?
No, it's an app. It's an app called
Oh.
It's an app called House Party.
Okay.
So I downloaded it to my phone, and that's when I ran into trouble. Then I downloaded it to my laptop and logged in. You have to create an account. You log in. But yeah, so with House Party, there's no host really. It's every man for himself. Who's ever in there gets to talk, and it's a free for all. So
Okay.
the problem with Zoom is this, because it's the call I had on Saturday. If you have a free account with Zoom, you only get 40 minutes for a free account, and I think you can only have a maximum of 3 on the call at the same time. So I was lucky that I was able to do both of those things. Now Zoom gave me extra time because it's the first time I used it with a free account. So we managed to talk for like an hour and 15 minutes. So that worked out well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So so the house party thing sounds like it's doomed for failure. No, seriously, because I mean,
think it's designed for young people who want to just to go in and do crazy stuff and yap away. For the likes of us who want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's suited for that.
No, exactly. So I'm the only one in this bunch that I'm speaking about that has a pro account. So I can have I can have up to 100 people. So they always ask me to host it. So I'm not going to do anything until if somebody says, let's get together again. And in this case, I will set it up so that they are all muted, and I will take control of it. And then I will explain the importance of one voice at a time, And I learned this years ago because our telephones used to work like that up north. If I wanted to call a Iqaluit, that's the only way you could do it. So you get used to it. But I mean, when everybody's sitting around the pub table, I mean, conversations happen all at once. Little side conversations happen. I mean, that just does not work. And so I've decided I'm not running another one of those unless I can host the damn thing and control it. Because I want them to have a really good experience. So,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Have you talked to everybody and they feel the same way, or is it? Do you understand my question?
No, I didn't. I have only spoken to one person.
And did she agree with you, or did
She
she?
was the one that raised the issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
just, I
yeah,
mean, sometimes we see things through our world,
yeah,
and no one else has a problem but
yeah,
us.
yeah.
So
Well,
that,
it
the reason,
wasn't the last thing we had. It was not enjoyable. There were 2 or 3 people that talked all the time, one over the other, and everybody else just sat there with a glum face on. So,
the the um, the reason why that happens on a Zoom call or any call for that matter, is because the way the human brain works. The human brain works differently compared to a computer.
of course.
Human brain can, when you are in a real in real life, when you are in a group of people and they're all talking to each other and somebody is talking to you, a human brain, even though actually does hear everyone else's talk, the human brain can filter out everyone else's talk and only listen
To
and
one.
understand what the person who is talking directly to you is saying and respond to that. The human brain can do that, but not the
Computers
computer.
can't. Yeah.
Computers can't. Computer will pick up everything from everybody. It comes to you at the same volume, same, I mean, at the same time, etc. Which is, and if you're also talking, then
Yeah. Yeah. So so that's my experience with
maybe this,
socializing.
yeah, maybe the breakout room may be an answer, but I don't see that as a
No,
total solution as such, because there is no equivalent of
no,
able to listen to one
no.
voice, ignoring every other voice. No, that cannot happen with a computer unless there is unless every um, viewer, every participant can control the volume of every other person
Hmm.
except the one who she or he is having a conversation with. Everyone else's volume should be able to control.
Mm,
That's not possible.
no. So what happens if, when the choir gets together? It's really quite interesting. Like usually there's maybe 30 to 50 people that get together on Zoom. And it's set up so that everybody is mute except for the choir directors who happen to be in the same room because they're married. And so if you want to speak, you have to raise your hand or signal in some way, and they'll invite you to speak. They do at break time. They do use the breakout rooms, and depending on how many people there are, they'll maybe have 3 or 4 people in one breakout room. But it still operates the same way, one voice at a time. But everybody that participates in that choir thing, they know how to do it now. They know it's one voice at a time, and so they're even in a breakout room when nobody's directing the conversation. One person will say, "LowellAnn, how are you doing?" or "What's going on?" or whatever, and I'll answer, and then somebody else will speak up and ask, speak to a specific person, so that interchange happens, but it still happens one person at a time. And then at the very end of the concert or the choir practice, they'll invite everybody to open their mic and say what they want, and it's chaos. And it's usually people just saying good night, it was a great evening, or whatever. So I mean, it's needing to have somebody take control. It's the only way you can make it work. So that's about excuse me, having house parties or pub parties or whatever. But I wanted to mention also, I mean, we've talked a little bit about COVID and what has caused us all to have to shut down. I've noticed that a number of my friends, my social friends, send me an email with a long, like kind of a long update. I've been watching this, or I did this, and blah 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 blah. So what they're doing is writing almost like a personal letter, but sending it by email. So that is happening. Then I find among my closest friends, it's by text. And then sometimes we'll get together and go for a walk outside, or do something outside where we feel safe. But so I mean, I think it kind of depends on the closeness of the person the people that you want to stay connected to. But for us here, text is used by your closest friends. Very rarely, unless there's something we really want to share, like maybe a video or whatever. But even so, we share links via text as well. So I think part of all of this comes down to what we're most apt to use, and most of us are most apt to use our phones. However, if you're thinking about your extended family that live elsewhere or whatever, texting really doesn't work, because your phone is going to be set up on its phone, your contract and all of that. So trying to get together with family and friends who are at a distance, Zoom or Skype or whatever are going to be your best bet. So that's the way I see it. Anyway.
Well, I have a friend in the States who started sending me letters. Like when we went into our first lockdown back in March, I started getting letters from her. Mm-hmm. And it was really nice to have an actual letter. I thought letter writing was dead. And so clearly, because you receive a letter, you want to reciprocate. So I started writing back. And so we've been doing that every couple of months. I get a letter from her and we just kind of exchange things.
Oh, I think Alana's having
I have nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to make another mention. I have a brother who lives in the Maritimes on the other coast, who does not have a phone and does not have a computer and is a total, a total, he rejects the whole thing.
Luddite.
A Luddite, thank you. I was trying to think of the word. He's a total Luddite. So I wrote him a long letter at Christmas time and included a bunch of pictures that I printed off, etc. But I haven't heard back from him. So he's older than, quite a bit older than I am. I have no idea whether he's even still alive.
I think there's a business here, helping older people with technology and learning. It's like Toastmasters, but in a different way. Toastmasters helps you, oh, I'm afraid of public speaking, and you take baby steps. This is the same sort of thing. How to use technology to your advantage. Some people will not touch it.
Yeah.
I know that. There's no saving them
Yeah.
from there. They just mentally say, I don't want to see it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to know about it. And hey, that's their choice. However, there are people who could use it and just take baby steps. And some of the techniques that you're suggesting is only one person and somebody has to run the meeting. Those techniques could be taught. And as you said, already in the choir, some of the people have learned this is how we do it.
Yeah.
At first they didn't, and etc. And the breakout rooms can be utilized in a certain aspect, and just the protocol. It's like anything. When you first used a phone and they weren't there, you didn't know what to do. But now we all know how to use phones. And it just goes through the technology. So it's how to introduce the technology so they're not scared of it, because they are scared. People don't want to do videos. People said, write a book. I don't want to write. I'm not going to write a book. So I'm not afraid to do videos, even though I say, I look like an old guy, which I am, but I don't think I looked that old until I saw myself on videos. Okay, so what? Doesn't matter. It's, so all of that, you get used to. It's taking the baby steps, and as you go, you progress. And there's a business there to help people. So I don't know who wants to set it up. Vivek can maybe help the people. There was a question, actually. I do want to say, I was asked, who asked the question?
Jivita.
Javita asked, where's in India? It's Visakhapatnam, which is on the Bay of Bengal.
Yeah,
It's,
Visakhapatnam, I think.
Yeah, you can pronounce it better than I can. Yeah, so that's where there's a lot of meetings there that I meet. There's a fellow that I meet, and he runs some youth programs and so on. So I think that was the question. So that's the answer to it.
Oh.
However, sorry to digress, but really, I think a lot of that's been said. I think it's a great conversation, because I forgot. There's a lot of people just don't want to use this technology, and yet once they get used to it, it's amazing. So some are afraid, and some will never use it. But there are other people who would, like your brother. I mean, wow. That reminds me, I lived in South Africa in the days when you couldn't phone, and it was the letter occasionally. During those days in the 60s and 70s and so on. So, but times have changed, and it's a matter of you want to adapt, or do you want to stay back in the dark ages?
Well, but Fred, and I agree with you 100%. But I've thought of doing exactly what you've just suggested, but I've come to the realization that just to put yourself out there as somebody who teaches that is not going to work. The reason I volunteered for the choir, and I've helped many people. I've shown them how to get set up with Zoom and where everything, I've walked them through or whatever, but I've done it as a choir member, as a volunteer. But the thing that I came to realize, that some of those people still have no desire to do anything. They were willing to learn just enough so that they could participate in the choir. So that what I learned from that is people will come online based on something they really want to do. And if they're a Luddite in terms of online, they don't want to do it, so they won't sign up.
Yeah, that's what you'll find.
Yeah.
There's a different range of people. I mean, there's from the
Yeah.
Luddite up to the one who wants, like, to the elderly geek. I mean, there's a big difference between
Big
those
time.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
However, there are people who, well, I'll give you an example. The lady in Cincinnati who's joined our group on Saturday mornings, she wouldn't turn on her camera or even her mic for 3 Saturdays. She was so nervous. If you look at her now, you will not believe that's the same person.
Yeah.
She just took baby steps.
Yeah.
Finally, she turned on her camera. And now she doesn't want to stop talking and get on video. I mean, it's quite amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But she was so scared. And it's just like that. We have fear.
Mhm.
Fear of what we look like, fear of what people say, people will laugh at us,
Mhm.
people won't, all those fears.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what it is. It's baby steps. And like you said, 100%, they must be something they want to do.
Yeah.
And she had her challenge was she had to do a video for her course at university. And she need to do this video and they had to do a speech and she wanted to get, she got 99.9% on that speech because we worked with her and helped her. And now she is unbelievable. What a change.
Right.
But she had something she wanted to do. You're
Yeah.
quite right.
Yeah.
That's it. Not just, I'm going to use technology because it's fun. Man, that's not fun. I hate it. Why should I do it?
Yeah.
But if there's something they want, so you're 100% right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife is one that's a Luddite. She refuses to get on a video and have a conference with. My daughter has a group that gets together Tuesdays and at different times, and she will go into the auditorium when those people are there and socialize and talk to them and be there, but she refuses to get on the camera with the same people. And it's for me, I don't understand. I mean, it's not like it's being broadcast to the whole world. It's just those people, and she refuses to get on. And it's
Yeah.
There's a fear. She's afraid of something. You don't know, maybe, and she might not even tell you what it is, but there's a fear. Something, she will not do it because they're scared. And I know a lady who's a Toastmaster who now haven't seen her. There's no way because we're doing it online. There's no way you'll get her online.
Yeah.
And I know her well.
We ended up losing a lot of choir members for the same reason. Nope, not going there. Yeah. Yeah.
They're
go ahead.
scared.
Yeah. But I think for some people they're scared. They maybe know, but they're not really sure what they're scared of.
Yeah, like you mentioned, sometimes it's, they heard that they'll get, their identity will be stolen or all their information will be stolen. They've heard all these bad things that they don't even know anymore what it is. They just said, no, that's bad. And they just got bad on it.
Yeah.
And that's it. They don't even know why it's bad anymore,
Mhm.
but they've heard it. And
Yeah.
it's now, not good. And, or, they saw themselves on video and said, I don't like the way I look, whatever it is, there's something scary.
Yeah, that's very true, because you have a picture in your mind of what you look like, and then when you see yourself, it's it can be a shock.
Yeah.
I think it's fear of the unknown. They don't know what they can't see past a certain
Mhm.
thing. So if they can't see past it, they can't wrap their brain around it.
And yet, you know what? I mean, we have at the care center where I work, we have a tablet there, and there are families that will connect up and say, we want to have a Zoom meeting with our resident, our mother, our grandfather, or whatever. And so I take the tablet into the resident's room, get it all set up, and sometimes the resident just sits and listens and nods, doesn't say very much or whatever, but it gives the family members a chance to see them and see that they're okay and all of that. It's amazing. um, that is working for some families with a parent or grandparent who has dementia even. It's amazing, just amazing. Yeah.
I think it's also a generational thing. Young people have grown up with technology. You know, when you get Generation Z and millennials, to them, it's just part of life and they know how to handle it. And if they don't know it, you know, they learn or they have to learn it. They can get addicted to it if you're not
Yeah.
careful. But where we get to the older generations, then wow, it's a big challenge and they're not interested and they've heard something bad and they're scared. So,
And
but the technology is a big boon. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people are saying, thank God we have online connections with this during COVID-19. Look where we would have been if we didn't have it.
yeah,
It has been a great big benefit to us, the fact, and
yeah.
people have realized that to many people, not everyone.
Book
Well,
sales would have been tremendous if we didn't have the internet.
well. So on Sunday we have on CBC Radio there is a cross country checkup. It's called. It's a phone in show. And this past Sunday, the topic was, has Zoom made your life better or worse? And you wouldn't believe the numbers of people who phoned in. I don't think I heard anybody say it made my life worse. I heard people say it made my life a whole lot better for a lot of reasons that all of us would be able to guess what they were. There were some people who said a little of both. And that I would like it. We're getting to the end, but I would like us to kind of leave with the phrase that I advertised. How often do you hear people say, I'm zoomed out? And I sometimes, I think a lot of people sometimes feel that way. And there was one person that was on the radio in that show who said, be careful about your scheduling and make sure that you've got lots of spacing in between your Zoom sessions. So get up and move around, get out for a walk and do something different. And don't just, and this was advice for people who are working from home in their jobs, and they go to one meeting after another, and they're the people that are saying, I'm zoomed out. So we need to have a break in between things and give ourselves time to reflect and think about. Fred.
It comes back to meetings suck. It's not that they're zoomed out. It's that they're so tired of having useless meetings that don't happen. That's what it is when you're zoomed. That's what it means. Because meetings aren't run properly and there are a lot of unnecessary meetings. Of course, they sit there and say, why am I here? What is going on? Why are they even having this meeting?
Yeah.
That's the problem with Zoom, being zoomed out, not Zoom. But I agree with you. Have a break and so on. That's important. Like anything, you can't sit at anything for hours and hours, no matter what it is.
Right.
If you're writing a book, you got to get up and break. If you're have that 5-minute break every 25 minutes, which is, the Pomodoro technique. It's important. So that's part of life. So it's not just Zoom. It's the fact that, and I think that's a good lesson. Like Alana is going to, when she has it, she's going to organize it. You're going to have somebody in charge. If you don't have that, it's a disaster. Yes, I'll shut up now.
I need to leave. I want to thank everybody and talk to you next
I
week.
was just going to thank Fred for giving us the last word, and I was going to close off because we are slightly over the hour and we all have things to do. And so I want to close off by saying it's important to do what you love with passion, and to tell you that next week's session topic is SEO for YouTube. So we'll see you all again next week. And right now I will start the outro. And whoever needs to leave can leave. So I just need to know what my outro is. I think it's all 4.